Whoa, what is that antique doing on your shoulder?
Well, it's been sitting here for almost 3 minutes because we're a little late, and it's getting heavy, I'll tell you that.
But it's balanced.
It is, but it's still heavy. So let's take a look at what we got here.
It's obviously an E&G camera. I got it.
All right.
You just talk.
Okay, so it's hard to line these things up. That's always one of the problems with it. But what was great about this camera here, there you go, is that it was balanced. They built this shoulder pad into here, and if you look at the line, the amount of weight they had in the back with the battery and what they have in the front was balanced. So it was a sort of a ready-to-go thing, and it was in a kind of an era where we weren't doing filmmaking, and you didn't need accessories, although we did make this part here to actually have rods, which is kind of neat.
Let me bring in Rachel. Rachel's on the line from Arizona with us. She's going to help us with questions from people and all that. Rachel, have you ever seen one of these before?
I have seen them. I have never picked one up. They look a lot different from the kind of stuff that I know that you guys have made. So
yeah, but this was our inspiration.
Not really my generation.
This was the inspiration, I mean, this design of the bottom for the VCT baseplate. And these E&G cameras use that system of locking in for locking on a tripod and going on your shoulder quickly.
And I remember Phil, a long time ago saying, God, we're so used to this VCT concept. Can you make a VCT option? As a matter of fact, we started off with just that little triangle. Remember, he wanted that.
Well, because a lot of these people had the VCT 14 bottom still, you know, from the old days.
And they love that. All right, so let's get rid of this thing. Oh my God, is that heavy? And holy moly, look at what we got now.
Where's the one with the plate? Oh,
well, we'll put a plate on it.
There's one right here.
It's live, baby. Okay, here we go. So here's what we came up with, the VCT Pro. Now, when you loosen this, this is the key feature of the whole thing. Look at that, wow. So
unlike the E&G cameras, which were already pretty balanced out of the box because they had all the accessories built on, we need to be able to balance these, you know, literal box-shaped cameras that are too tall, and it doesn't have the right balance at all. So by mounting it on this red plate and being able to slide it fore and aft, you can get that balance point so that you're not holding it and it's not front heavy. You're not holding it and, you know, wasting power trying to do that.
Well, and the thing is that, you know, they came up with these camera shapes. And it's like it kind of grew out of a photo department, I'm going to say. It didn't grow out of pro video. And the idea is they suck.
Right. Well, they're trying to probably make it more inexpensive and a little more generic that way as well. It's cheaper for them to make a box than to have all that on there.
But we're not accustomed to a box, and we need to get this thing balanced. Right. So, and also these boxes tend to be very high. So the difficulty of creating this VCT was that we needed to make this area right here, which we did, and it's the lowest one I've seen, less than an inch. I think it's less than 3/4 of an inch.
Right, to bring your shoulder as close to the bottom of the camera as possible.
Right, which was the beauty of the Betacam. They dug that thing inside your shoulder.
Right.
I mean, that one, not so much. You got something to say, Rachel?
Yeah, I know it wasn't also just height that was a big deal for you guys. It was width as well, because these E&G cameras were really wide, which helped with stability, right?
Good point.
I can
All
show
right,
you right
let's
here.
take a look at that. So as you can see here, a lot of people are designing these base plates very narrow. And the key to us when we first did this was we tried a narrow version in a prototype, but when you actually went to put it on your shoulder, there was a lot of wiggle there. And this is where the inspiration came from. We didn't want to go quite that wide because people would freak out, they don't, you know. And the cameras might not necessarily be as wide as this body is.
Right. But to help that, by using this gel, it helps form to your shoulder and also reduce that rocking.
All right, let's take a peek at that. John, we're on your close-up. Let's come to your close-up here. There we go. All right, look at this. That has got this incredible squishiness to it, and people love this. I mean, this is the #1 thing people talk about. And getting this material was difficult. And the way that you have it wrapped around inside here with this carbon fiber plating prevents it from kind of peeling out. One of the issues that I've noticed with Betacams and every other camera system I've ever used is the nature of that. The shoulder pad gets ratty, it peels out and whatnot, and we've had really good results with
Remember, we have a
this.
lifetime warranty anyway, so.
True. Okay. So let's tilt up a little bit here. Thanks, John. Okay, so now this is the key, obviously, to the whole thing, which is the VCT triangle, we call it. And you did something interesting there. What did you do?
Well, inside the triangle, we have these threaded holes. So if, we've had people request before being able to put a little tripod plate on here. If they didn't have the VCT 14 bottom, they could still snap it right into a tripod.
And if you're going, now there are some issues with that, but if you're going super with a lightweight camera package, I don't think that it's doable. It's not preferred because you're going to have some back rock and stuff like that. Let's go back to the close-up here. Okay. There's another thing that you did here, just as a lot of the design that people don't realize is weight reduction.
Yeah, so in traditional plates, there was another sort of wing out here, another set of rails, but it was really not necessary. So part of, we took maybe a year to design this thing, a lot of iterations, almost as long as we took to design our graticle.
That's embarrassing, but it...
No, it's not embarrassing. We wanted to get it right, and there was a lot of things back and forth. Reducing the weight was really important. Getting that thickness, like you talked about, is important, and we're going to get to the other key feature in a minute. But yeah, this shelf that we call it is extra narrow. We've eliminated material wherever we could.
Yeah, I remember when we got to the end, we were like, okay, where can we put in holes and lightening things, anywhere to make it lighter. So let's talk more about the front here. So obviously, we have, rods.
Real quick, you guys, just before we move on from looking underneath, Michael Rizzo just had a quick question. Jens, I'm sure you can answer this. It says, is the material for the gel shoulder pad different from the original VCT and this VCT Pro base plate, or is it the same kind of gel? Because I know you changed the shape of the shoulder pad as well.
Yes, the shape has maybe changed a little bit depending on the base plate, but we've always used the same gel. Once we found that and found that it worked, we stick with it. It's the same stuff.
Okay. Okay, so let's talk about the front here a little bit. Actually, I'm going to put this back on here, and I want to hold on. Help me out there, Jens. Okay, I want to roll that clip where we talk about the shelf here, and this is a really critical feature. Okay, check this out. So when the camera goes on there, you see the little red outlined area? That is so critical. Now, this is a typical base plate. When they put that rosette there, it makes you shove that camera forward because it can't, you have to bring the actual, if you're using a follow focus, come back here. If you're using a follow focus, you need to, if it's here and your gear is here, it's useless. You'd have to slide your camera forward in order to do that. Roll the other graphic because I want to show that. So your hand, your eye, and your shoulder never change. What changes is where you slide that camera forward and back. And now if you looked at where that follow focus gear was, it was like here. Well, if you have a rosette here and your rods start here, you're done. It's game over.
See, that's worth repeating. I don't know if people might realize that at first, is that most of these base plates, they have the triangle underneath here, but they also have material here, like you were saying. That's where they mount the rosette. I know you just said that, but sometimes it's hard to imagine that. We start our rods much farther back.
And that was a very complicated thing to figure out because we wanted to design this to be universal and work with every camera. So when I take this off, I'm gonna give them a little look-see here. Help me get it off there. Let's go to John shot. Thank you. When I loosen this, okay. So we have this rod riser. Now look at how thin that is. But we figured out that follow focuses and items. And this is basically in the DSLR mode where the rods need to be the lowest they are, that you can slip them all the way back there. When I come this way, you can see that I can adjust this for every single camera on the market. And there's little hash marks there that can remind you where your camera goes.
The only exception is the red-bodied cameras, but we have a separate plate for that.
Right. Now, so this range here covers most cameras, but then you can actually flip this, and then it gives you the ability to go higher. As you said, the red camera has a super high lens height, so we have a different riser. But this thing will last for current cameras and future cameras. I don't see how somebody can design a camera that changes the nature of the rod height, but we can just create a new rod riser.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that's the front. Obviously, the rods, you know, they can come off if you want when you're putting it away.
For different lengths, different length lenses.
And you can get longer rods. And you can extend these rods. They're threaded. Come to the close-up here. This is kind of a neat feature that we do, is where you can see here that the rods are threaded. You can just screw another rod into that rod. And it's not really an issue because you're probably putting things that go over both rods, and that prevents the rods from turning.
So really, just to sum up this key feature of this distance here, it allows the camera to come back farther than anybody else's to balance it properly and not add counterweight and things like that, and have your follow focus contact the lens because the camera's farther back.
Well, it could even be rod support too. Yeah, Rachel?
Yeah, do you guys want to grab that FS7? You've got a really good setup showing there's a lens support on there, there's a follow focus on there, showing what that extra rod length at the front really gets you.
Right. Hang on, let me flip this down.
Yeah, here's a perfect example.
What side do you
show
wanna
me the
see?
profile here. In this case, the lens support is all the way against, it's right here. It's hard to see. You can't come in any closer? Keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. Good. So this is the lens support right here. It's exactly banged up against, it's all the way using this entire shelf area.
Which allows me to
Send
push
the camera further back.
Right, because there's a longer lens, I need to send the camera further back to balance it.
Now also, even the follow focus here is inside the shelf area. If the follow focus had to be up here, then you would have, this is hard to see, but the actual gear is over here. And this is the unique feature of this follow focus, is it allows you to draw forward. Let me see how balanced this rig actually is.
But the point being is, if I had a traditional follow focus, you know,
yeah, it would be up in your neck.
Yeah.
Put that image up there. Do we have it where you can see? And this kind of gets into the idea of why people say, do we not have a rosette? Okay, come back, please.
Yeah, we're segueing into the question that I know she was about to ask, is why don't we have a rosette on this side?
Well, one, because it would be in your neck.
Right, if the camera's balanced. Yeah.
And two, it's most of the time you want to either grab the lens or you're going to use a follow focus like this, and at that point you need to get these hand grips farther forward. But yeah, I want to see how balanced this rig actually is. Let's show people how we feel about balance.
Okay, here, let me do this.
That's balance, okay? You need to, now he's not holding the rig, he's just operating the rig. And it's just living on his shoulder. If it's even microscopically out of balance after an entire day of shooting, let's say it's 2 pounds out of balance. If I were to take a 2-pound weight and hold it like this all day long, not possible. We used to do that in Pilates where we held it for 2 minutes and it felt like 100 pounds.
You're not operating the camera with finesse anymore, you're muscling it.
Yep.
So while we're on the subject of rosettes, we do have a rosette on here.
Right, on this side, here, let's cut back to
but this is the side that you would really need it on to relocate the grip, let's say in this case, you know, this camera.
Exactly. Now, if you want 2 grips, it's best to do that off the rods. And we have shorty grips and things like that that we're going to bring up in other videos. But let's get back to, why don't you zoom in here, John, so we can see. So here you can see how we have the rosette. But that rosette does not infringe. This was another complicated thing that we had to figure out, how to get the lever. So like when you...
And how to get the rosette as far forward without interfering with any of the other workings.
It doesn't, see look, my finger can go right here. So it doesn't deal with any of that issue. So now you come off the rosette. It is, people say, why does it step out like that? Well, so that it doesn't interfere with the shelf. The shelf is everything. Without it, you can't get an accessory to bang directly into this wall, which is key. This was the hardest thing that we could ever have come up with in this plate, which was getting the distance from here to here, less than an inch. And that's what allows you to get that camera as far back as possible and keep it balanced. The other issue was this right here, keeping this less than 3/4 of an inch so that you don't add to the top heaviness of an already top heavy world.
Right. So we showed them, like, this is the lock, this is the
let's
safety
go over
lock.
here. We'll talk about that.
We got some hash marks. There's some fun little things.
Here's the lock for, you know. But again, most of the time, you can mount your camera up here, and then get super far forward. But there's not going to be a scenario that that's ever really going to happen. Or you can mount your camera far back here. There's normally screws in here. We just took them out because they rattle a lot. And now you can get your camera all the way back here.
It's a much more likely scenario, especially with long lenses.
Right, but there's like a 1 foot range on this deck, and then that's your lock right there. That's it.
You know, depending on the combination of lens and battery weight, that's where we're going to slide it to. You know, somewhere in the middle there.
Also, you got your 3 holes right here, 1/4 20s, which is important because we put a
Z-rail. You can put Z-rail there and clamp a side grip. There's different options.
Yeah, we have like a hand grip and also can lock in a DSLR and things like that. Okay.
Did we do this yet?
Well, wait, we're going to move to the back. Okay, let's move to the back.
Yeah, we did. We had a question. We had a question from Basil. It says, what accommodation for counterweights does this offer for front-end counterweights? And I think we're just about to talk about that right now, moving to the back of the rig.
Well, I think we're talking about back-end counterweight, but you might want to clarify that if another comment comes in.
Yeah, let's say there's a scenario with, hang on, got to just do that. Let's say there's a scenario where you are front heavy for whatever amount of accessories you have on the back. I personally like to have a little bit of back weight, you know, and get the camera in the sweet spot. And a typical way to do that is with a battery. And here I have 2 of our rear rods that are already clipped into a gripper battery, which is really nice, by the way. And
go ahead, plunk it in there.
I think you tighten it. There we go. So with this one single ratcheting lever here, you can pop it in, you can pop it off really quick. But this serves as a good counterweight back here.
Well, and originally we had a 2-lever design, but we were like, man, I know this sounds ridiculous trying to remove 1 lever, but one, it's less actions. Everything is all about actions. How many actions? And weight. So, you know, we figured, okay, we wanted to get this thing under 900 grams. We're like, well, if a lever is this much, this is this much. And it's nice. I mean, that and boom, it's gone. Now you could have a lot of accessories on there. You could have a recorder,
distribution box, the more traditional type battery, system battery with its mount.
Right,
all those
so
things.
all of that's gone. And then, you know, I can remove the front rods real quick here, you know, and then, you know, and I can remove the top deck, whoa, if I want. And, you know, this can all go into a case now. Super quick. Boy, these rods are just rolling all over the place. We're going to have to change our set a little bit.
They are round.
Okay. So
one thing I want to just make sure we talk about before we move on to the next section is this is a fully universal base plate. There's a line that you like to say, Steve, that's like all cameras from a mirrorless to an Alexa, but it really can. If your camera's got a flat bottom,
Wait, the line I like to say is that cameras are just accessories to our base plates because they far outlast these cameras these days, especially when they're built to accommodate all these cameras.
Yeah, I mean, this is of course, universal has been the nature of everything, even the very first base plate we ever made, the UB3, which was what, in 2005, was a universal base plate. We always said we wanted to make equipment so you didn't have to buy a new base plate every single time. Now, I probably shouldn't be saying this, but we have some new products coming out in the future that are also going to work with this, that are going to make the mirrorless system just a wee bit better.
It's a whole smaller rig, so you know some people have said that this is a little big for their taste, although I like it on here. But we're coming up with something smaller as well.
Okay. Now, Rachel, what do you want to do next?
Yes, let's grab that EVA 1 and throw it on there because I just want to take a look at the VCT docking system, which is really comprised of 3 parts. It's this VCT Pro we've been working with, the tripod plate you guys have seen, and this cool little dock, which I think, Steve, you just grabbed.
Okay, so
let's take a look at how it works.
Essentially, once you mount your camera to the red plate, it can go on the VCT or it can go on the dock. So people had asked us, well, what can I do if I want to, you know, have a very simplistic system quickly and be able to have this dock on a slider or a drone or another tripod? You know, let's say you want to quickly move and you want to be lighter weight. Now so here you have the same sliding capacity.
So this red plate can essentially live on the camera. It's really thin. And the beauty of a dovetail system like this is you can move it from rig to rig.
Well, here's a scenario that I would do that. So like this particular camera would normally have a grip here, which we took off. And I may want to operate the camera like this real quickly. And then I may want to stick it on here, or I may want to stick it on here. It's a whole system of moving it around. I'm going to put it back in here.
Nice.
Does that answer the question?
That does. That's great. I think I know you've got a C300 back there.
Yeah.
Which I also just want to show off a little bit and just take a quick second about talking just for some new people who've come in, just one more balance demonstration to show about the VCT being the center of a recoil. And we've got 3 cameras here we've been using, but you really can build it up around any camera and lens combination to fit your needs.
All right, well here, turn around a little bit, Jens, here. So here we actually are doing the grips differently. We're doing them off the actual rods. So, and this is a really nice system because you have the ability to lengthen these rods, twist this handle, which is like critical. Something as simple as just being able to do that a little bit, and then show them how you can adjust the trigger really quickly.
Oh, down here.
Yeah, down there, you know, and get it, you know, boom,
I
you know,
can get
it's
it
like
right where I
really
want
nice.
here. I can also just flip it out of the way
Which
here.
is nice because you can set it on the ground. So we're doing the grips a little bit differently here, but essentially, let me see, is this baby fully balanced as well?
I believe so, yep. Hang on.
Whoop, try it again.
I think you lengthen this, that's through my balance.
Oh, wow, hang on, I'm going to put it back. I mean, that's pretty amazing that something as simple as moving that a little bit alters your balance. But that's critical. I mean, this is a very, turn this way, this is a very tall, top-heavy camera. And
that illustrates why this need to be thin.
Go to the wide shot so you can really see this.
But
yeah, oh wow, it's even wider than that.
Yeah.
It's like a mile high here. But now come to the close-up. Yeah, you can see why we want that so thin, because we want to get that camera as low as humanly possible. Every single centimeter makes a difference. And in this case, we're not even using the rosette. We're using the rods to mount grips. But you could have used this rosette if you wanted to, and he could grab the lens with his hand.
Right. Here's an example of the counterweight in the back, which helps with a
Well,
lens
this
like
isn't counterweight. This powers everything.
No, I know, but I mean, it helps with this lens.
I mean, when you're dealing in these mid-range cameras, you're probably going to need power, so you're going to need something back there. But again, look at how far, let's go back to that profile. Look at how far back that camera is. I said before, usually where the lens meets the camera body is in the center. In this case, it's even further back. And that's hard to do because the second you do that, it's going to make all those focus gears and everything. Now let's check this out. Let's go on this side and see. The focus gear, where is the focus gear?
Well, I can reach it right here easily.
Yeah, but is it over the shelf?
It's right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, even with this long lens, I mean, here is the shelf. I am right there, man. It is at the very edge at the balance point.
So if this was a competitor's plate, you wouldn't be able to do it because their rods would probably start right about here and it would interfere.
You barely, maybe it's an if.
And it doesn't leave me room to mount the grips.
Yeah, and this is a long, now, and in this case, if you had that, this rosette would be right here in your neck. So you would need to have the grips forward. Rachel.
Yeah, I just want to end up with a comment here from Wayne, who says what I think really sums this up really well. He says, I so love that base plate, so dynamic, will work with any camera setup from tripod to shoulder to ... which is absolutely true. So thank you, Wayne, for commenting on that. And I think this was a nice, short and sweet show. We covered everything. I would like to offer you guys a little bit of a deal. Right now, we're offering a free VCT dock with every VCT Pro, which starts now. It goes through noon CST on Friday the 29th. This is only available through our store. I'm going to put the details in the link right now. Happy shopping. Thank you guys for watching. We're taking next week off to celebrate Independence Day, and we will see you all again on July 11th.
Thanks, Rachel.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
See you guys.